Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Age of Bison YouTube channel where everything is jumping around left and right, and I need to turn view lock off. We are in Game 5 of a best of 5 series of the third place losers final match in the Sunbros 1v1 tournament. We're on the map Cascade Range. My name is General Spades. I'm joined with Platypus Slayer, who is awaiting the winner of this series. Platypus, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I have enjoyed casting these games. They have been competitive. We've seen a lot of creative builds, and each player is probably saving their ace, up their sleeve for their last go. So I'm really looking forward to this match. I hope it's been as competitive as the rest of the series so far. I don't think there's been a single game that was, a Civ win or decided at the outset, other than maybe, game one, which will let the viewers, well, they've made it this far.
I sure
Um,
hope so. If you're watching
right.
Game 4, I sure hope you've watched Game 1. But to your point, that
This is
was
game
really the
five.
only game that so far has been, I guess you could call it uncompetitive. It was
Right.
it was
Luckily decided.
more or less a wipe by Dunamai. Dunamai wins Game 1. Uh, LFS wins Game 2. Dunamai wins Game 3. LFS wins Game 4. Truly back and forth all the way through. Now we're in Game 5. We've got Dutch versus Italy. LFS
Mhm.
playing Italy for the second time this series. Dunamai playing Dutch for the first time this series. So we've got an interesting matchup for
Two boom
sure.
civs. They like to sit back and boom. We've got boomers, right? This isn't no zoomer listening to mumble rap and, going around and basically trying to pick up the pieces of the generation priors and effect on the world, right? These are boomer civs, all right? These are old school. Even though Italy's a brand new civ, it does tend to play more boomerish. However, before I get too ahead of myself, LFS, yep, and there's the Mercs.
The the Merc deck showing its face again. We saw this in game 2 where LFS busted out the Mercs against Dunamai's Lakota. And remember, in both of these games, um, oh sorry, no, game 2, LFS picks or counter. Oh, LFS counter picks Italy into Lakota. Game 5, Dunamai counterpicks Dutch into LFS's Italy. So a little bit of a different scenario here where Dunamai has the advantage of being able to counterpick Italy, knowing what he saw in Italy, in LFS's Italy in game 1 or in game 2. So very interesting to see I'm very interested to see what happens here, and
Oh, we have a little
and
bit of laughter. I
I
assume the
think
treasure got stolen.
no, this house got ended up sieging down. The architect wasn't building it fast enough,
Huh.
and so the house ended up getting sieged down, and slowly but surely this house is getting sieged down too, unless LFS decides to buy it up. So just wasting architect seconds. He might get a third one.
Ooh, that's a good
He is
strategy,
going
man.
to
I
get a
have
third one. Wow. That's almost as toxic as sending Vils to kill Ethiopia's hunts.
never. You know what, though, to be fair, you are getting these houses for free, right? It's like the meme, it's free real estate.
Yeah.
Um,
It
it's
does take villager seconds, though, or architect seconds, and that is precious time, seeing as they
right.
do get built a lot slower. And yeah, you're better
That's
off
why
to
he might
actually,
actually live, though, 'cause he's probably going
yeah,
to pay for the
yeah,
station.
the explorer's finally gonna go down. We haven't even looked at Dunamai's deck here. We do know going up with the governor LFS is. We're gonna take a look at his deck. He went up with the corridor master. That is a thing, and Uncle
Fish, fish. I don't. I
Pixo
don't.
V.
I'm not even going to pretend. I'm sorry for any French speakers.
Yeah.
I know Oncle. But that's about.
So he's got military reforms. Halberdiers march significantly more quickly, but do less damage against infantry. Sending 700 wood.
Oh,
He's
we
got
saw this.
silversmith in here. Did we?
Yeah, I got in the matchup against Vindian. Dunamai did this to get Speedy Boys, very fast halberdiers. So he's already got one bank out. I expect to see kind of a classic Dutch turtle to start to go up.
And yeah, so this is interesting. So the 700 wood probably going to get a second bank up with that. It looks like he's getting the macro for that. Meanwhile, LFS is doing LFS things. Yep, sending capitalism, sending Trattoria, getting that coin income rolling.
Got a
Now
nice pop cap here, so he's definitely planning ahead for those mercs or any outlaws.
Yeah,
And
that's where having the explorer siege down these houses came in really handy, because that was 1, 2, 3 houses at least that the explorer was able to siege down, and all of that, like you would have a second house. Like this house would be done at this point. So really good job from Dunamai to do stuff to house LFS here. I mean, are Evs only 2 pop?
No.
No, okay, so that's only 9, but that's a 12 pop. That's a 31 pop, and that's a 26 pop, and even this 12 pop is quite a bit. I mean, you won't pop yourself now, but your best age 2 shipment as Italy is Croatian company, and that's 31 pop. You send that now, you're going to be popped for sure, and you're going to have to either chop wood to buy up your houses or just build them with normal settlers. So off to a good start for Dutch, I would say, Platt.
I would say, both civs, again, these are kind of more passive civs. You're not going to probably see a all-in rush from either. Dunamai definitely
walls.
Yeah, anticipating.
And outposts. Yep.
Wow.
He is playing about as defensive as you can possibly get. Now, the interesting thing, Platt, is that this map is somewhat shy in terms of food. If we take a look at Dunamai's perspective here, he does have this. He does see this elk up here. He sees the berry bushes here, but he doesn't see the herd that made its way into the corner up here, or this one. I suppose map knowledge could tell you that they're there. But Dutch is going to run out of food sooner rather than later, and as a matter of fact, both players are. So, interesting to see how well the turtle will do for him, knowing that you're going to need food pretty soon. A big bank, barracks, house wall with an outpost behind it.
So currently no way to leverage, his lack of food.
I imagine we'll probably be seeing one soon. I mean, that is the good thing about Dutch, right? Is these banks, you're going to end up tanking the market by using it as much as you probably would with a turtle this hard. But
something interesting too, I noticed that LFS, he spread his military production buildings out, those taverns. Like if you look,
there's one
south
here. There's one
I guess
here.
that'd be southwest of his base. Yep, there's one north.
And there's one here. That is really interesting. Now, normally when I send this card, I kind of incorporate them into the house wall that I like building because like you're saying, this is more of a defensive civ, as the outpost is spotted out by Dunamai here, so knows that there's going to be early aggression. Obviously knows that there's going to be early aggression as we look into his base. Still no market up. Has a lot of excess wood, so maybe we'll see that soon. We're going to hop over to LFS and see. He decided to go fast fort with the mercenary contractor. So that allows, I believe that allows Jaegers?
No. I believe it's
or is it?
I'm not.
Is it? Oh, you know what? It's mounted infantry. It's the ones that can dismount. It allows those ones to be trained, and then immediately sending Royal Mint as his first card in Age 3. So
He's ready to pump those bad boys out, or
He's
some sort of mercenary unit.
some sort of mercs. Probably gonna send the Habsburg would be my guess, and then some Fenar behind it because these are gold only. He doesn't have a shipment handy. Obviously,
She's
this.
gonna go H4 though. I mean, look at his food macro. I mean, at this
Oh
point,
yeah.
if you know that Dutch is gonna sit around in H2 and turtle like that, we saw what happened earlier when Vindian tried to crack the turtle. Maybe LFS is thinking, you know what? I'm Italy. I'm a great H4 civ. I'll just see you then, or not. Like I said, these guys definitely play very clever and a little bit off meta. So I'm not even going to pretend like I have a strong inclination of what's coming next. But that would be my guess by the macro.
And that is certainly something that the actual good players at this game, the pro players, have said and figured out that Italy seems to be happiest doing some sort of industrial play, whether that be fast industrial or like a semi-fast or sit and turtle to industrial, because of the power of their Age 4 shipments. I mean, you've got the Papal Arsenal, you've got the Papal Company, which is really good. It's not in this deck, but you can send the Lombard, the Lombard improvement card, and then in concert with the Lombard advanced Lombards in Age 3, your Lombards are actually incredibly useful. So, yep, there's the click to age. We're going with the Pope. And no advanced politicians. We'll see if he sends this now to try and get a faster.
If he did, and that would get over the factory.
Yo, look at me calling this shot before it happens. And look at that. Boom. Aging to 4 before 11 minutes. Dunamai, with all the walls in the world, won't stop the Age 4. You're 2 ages behind. You do have a score lead. And that is something else to note. Like, yes, you aged to 4 fast. But you could have just waited and then possibly, I guess you don't have the res for Papal Company, so never mind. You're going to be waiting anyways. Oh, and the Pope. Okay, yep. So there's all the XP. So this is a very intentional strategy from LFS here. Aging up with the Pope, getting the books. Look at all this. He's gonna have 2 shipments out of this collection of books by the time he gets to Age 4.
Correct. And Dutch are now in Age 3, but Dutch has probably got to be sweating, thinking, man, I spent all this res turtling, and if I get hit by papal bombards, then all of this is for naught.
Yeah. Which I imagine will be advanced frontier defenses. So he is fully buying into the turtle, has 12 veteran skirmishers, and is just trying to get this outpost down because that's the last thing that you want as Dunamai. As here's the Bourbon allies, Royal Musketeers coming in, and then the factory. You don't want anything to pop out of this because as soon as something pops out of this, you're kind of screwed.
Age 2 and 3 units versus Age 4, super. They're almost like Corollians, or they have like a. Well, no, they're kind of a unique musketeer with a charge attack. Very potent.
So LFS canceling out the factory shipment. We'll see what he sends. These Royal Musketeers are going to have to march all the way across the field, which gives Dunamai a little bit more time to prepare. As the outposts are upgraded now. Frontier outposts going out over there. We'll see where he places the second one. Securing, I guess, the berry bush. And, I mean, if you want to secure this hunt, you got to put it a little bit further forward. Now skirmishers coming out. Cascade Range, obviously no trade posts, as you can see. Here are the Royal Guard Musketeers. Sharp rapier and melee and a charge. So he's got that charged attack. And it's a musketeer with a charged attack is essentially what it is. Let's take a look at its stats.
Basically a guard.
35 attack at 12 range with 30 siege. And then 32 hand attack, which is really good as well. Will decide to send robber barons for the factory. And Platt to be honest, I want to watch this unfold from Dunamai's perspective because I think this might not end well.
Yeah. Oh, Reuters into that too.
Oh, that's
Nice. Well, he's got skirms, so skirms are the right counter, and those are veteran skirms, right? They shadow tech to 3.
yeah. So that Dunamai does have that going for him. As long as he doesn't let the Highlander or the Royal Guard Musketeers get into melee, which they're slowly pushing their way
They're
up.
fast too.
And the
They're at
Centaur
4.1.
Horsemen are coming in. We got the Reuters hopping on the Horsemen, and the Royal Guard Musketeers have hopped into melee. They are also within the range of the Frontier Outpost, so they're going to be taking shots. Charge attack coming out. Good job on Dunamai to split up the skirms to keep a few of them in range.
Those horsemen, man.
And the Centaur Horsemen are just eating
look, they got
alive.
Sneaky how push.
Sneaky halberdiers. But again, these Royal Musketeers, you're an age behind. Royal Guard Musketeers, and it doesn't matter. The 35 ranged attack is just so good against age 2 and 3 units.
Well, and you know what these are? It's the same thing that a lot of people complain about Ashigaru. They are faster than their counter.
Yep.
With speed 4.5 base, and because they basically shadow tech to 4. You know, unlike Ashies, these are locked in age 4, and, you know, Italy does have to work for them, right? But, you know, if you're Dunamai, you're like, well, I have skirms, I should win. But, you know, these are fast muskets with a good hand attack, so it's going to be that much harder to screen your skirms from this type of musketeer unit. So, you know, the damage is done, and, you know, LFS keeps most of his army intact, and, you know, now he's got to be sitting back saying, well, I'm in age 4.
He's got all the coin in the world. He's now sending Millennia's Arsenal, content to drop that down and get half-priced Arsenal technologies and boom a little bit behind this. He's only sitting on 26 compared to 32 villagers plus banks. A bank is worth what, 4 villagers ish? 3.5?
Yeah. 3.5 to 4. I think it depends on there's another card that upgrades them.
2.75 a second right now, so we'll call it 3.5. You're sitting on 5 banks right now, so 15-ish villagers, give or take, plus the 33 that you have. So you're sitting pretty
Something too I want
pretty
to point
good.
out, you know, for any legacy players that might be confused, you know, in 2022, there's no military buildings other than taverns out for Italy at the moment, unless he just built one.
You would be correct. He's got the 2.
There's a barracks in the north.
Oh, he's got, okay, so 1 barracks and 3 taverns.
You know, but again, you know, the power of Italy, part of the core Civ design is to have these options to play mercs. You know, yet to be seen how it is, you know, whether it's a meta, whether it's just an option, kind of like the German mercenary build, right? It's a powerful option that can really be used if you roll good mercs or against the right opponents. And there's more Centaur Horsemen. So you know, all these units, shadow tech, he doesn't have to pay for any upgrades.
1,300 health.
Holy mackerel!
Getting
and 40%
obviously
siege resist.
all the upgrades from the arsenals as well. They're coming in pretty quickly. He's getting villagers pumped out behind this now. 33, about to be 34, and almost 1,400 health is going to eat these skirmishers alive. Literally 10 times the max health of one skirm.
Right. Boy, this is well played by LFS. You know, I mean, taking all of these different kind of, you know, unique aspects of the Civ and blending them together into, to be quite honest, for, you know, Dunamai as an older player is probably a little bit confused on, like, what do I do against this? And
so Bersaglieri's now finally coming out. These are fast units as well. They've got the horn.
Got stun units. And they're pretty nifty. They have feathers in their hats, and they're pretty nifty.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. So the battle is going in. We've got plenty of Reuters here hopping on top of the Royal Guard Musketeers.
Look, is that Dunamai spies? Wow, he's got spies on.
Okay, so that was a good call. The spies are going to be doing, what is that? What is their multiplier? 40 times multiplier against
That's my score.
Oh, sorry, 20 times bonus damage against mercenaries. So they're going to be shredding these Royal Guard Musketeers. They shredded the Centaur Horsemen.
Actually, Royal Guard Musketeers count as a native.
Do they?
Yeah.
Well, they still got shredded. So good job on Dunamite to recognize, probably again saw the deck and said, okay, I know what you're doing, and I'm going to counter it. So I'd probably say pretty even trade, maybe even in the favor of Dunamite, who is still down a little under 1,000 score, but, you know, losing 1,400 health units always hurts.
You know, and as we said before too, you know, first off, in a fast industrial, you're kind of on a timer because all of your shipments are unit shipments and not eco cards. I don't know enough about Italy. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the traditional wisdom, right? Is fast industrial is trading, you know, tempo for long-term stability.
You know, I'm personally not much of a boomer myself in terms of the game, but yeah, if you're gonna go fast industrial, you want to hit your opponent pretty hard and keep them down as early as possible, and LFS has not done a good job of that. And he's playing against a Dutch player who's just gonna put more banks out. He's up to 6 now, and all signs, Platt, point to this being an eco advantage for Dutch now.
He's got more villagers. He's got banks. He's got a pretty solid unit comp. You know, Dutch do have a lot of options. Now the question is, you know, what does Dunamite do with this? Plus, Dunamite scoring higher. Something to keep in mind is that LFS is not only up in age, he is also Italy, which overscores a bit because of like the free building. So we got a Husserade, looks like on the gold over here.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some of these Hussar again, not upgraded, so they're not gonna wipe them out, but just enough to tickle. Say, hey, I'm here. Pay attention as we see. Wow, docks going up. So
Good
that
move
is
from, LFS.
yeah.
Hit that wire.
Underrepresented part of this map is the docks. Like, yeah, there's no land. There's very limited land food. The elk are not very consistent throughout the Rockies, but these ponds do have fish in them. The fish are very seasonal. You know, they come up and they lay their eggs and they breed, and then you got to get them before they die. Platt.
I won't go too much into salmon stats as in Alaska, but long story short, I mean, yeah, they're going to be all spawned out by the time they're in their headwaters and not very edible. But these ones are jumping around, which would actually more suggest since they're in a lake trout variety. But let's not get too much into details.
Well, we don't. I mean, look, this is probably the head of a river. I mean, we don't see where it goes. This is just part of the map.
I mean, if they're at the head of the river, they're going to be all spawned out.
Well,
we call it. Age of Salmon will pause and go back to
Age of Empires. The King's Musketeer is going to be coming in. Falconet's being trained by Dunamite here. So Dunamite catching up in age, it would appear, to LFS these are Royal Horsemen to accompany the Bersagliaries.
Yeah, and he nopes right out of there, and that is a smart move because those Royal Horsemen, these guys are beefcakes. They are basically Cuirassier, but mercenaries. So of course their stats are just that much more potent.
Yeah. So you've got the Royal Horsemen accompanying. I'm sure we'll see some Royal Guard Musketeers. So the whole royal family, the royal contingent, is going to come out and play. But Dunamite still with the score lead, still obviously with the banks. He's got the Falcons now to deal with the Bersagliaries. And he's aging. So this is going to be an interesting engage. The next engagement is probably going to be the one that decides the game.
Right. And honestly, if I'm Dunamite, I don't know if I'd be this aggressive at this point. Maybe poke around here and there, like, with these Hussar raids, but, you're aging. You just spent all these resources going up in age. You probably want to, tech your units up. think this might be a little bit too aggressive from him. He's played so smartly. Remember, these guys just played 4 previous games, so any critique going forward just needs to come in the mind of these guys have just played for 2 hours straight. Fatigue starts to set in, and the fact that they haven't made any major mistakes is really a testament to both these players' skill.
To be honest, I think it's probably pretty smart of Dunamai to at least sit up here. I mean, he's not being hyper aggressive, but he is taking. He's getting vision on the map, so he's going to see these vills here. He knows that they're here. He knows that the hunting is happening. He even sees that if he's paying attention, that there's fish on the water, or that the fish are being fished. Which it's hard to ask. There's one here, so maybe you don't see that.
Spawned out in that thing. Please don't eat salmon that look like that, folks. Anyway.
Versus, LFS, yeah, he's got a lot less vision, and if you ask me, I think vision is a major part of what happens in a victory. If you can get map control, if you can get vision on your opponent, whether it's towers, whether it's just scouting around with some Hussar and noticing where their hunts are, that's going to be what causes the game to kind of slide in your victory, as the Falconets are now popping on top of the guard Bersaglieri's. Royal Horsemen are just going to sit in the back, content to wait to strike.
Well, and going back earlier, I think this is the tricky part. Of course, there's no way to know, but Italy's army is pretty fast. Speed 5 skirms. Royal Horsemen, speed 6 plus.
7.25.
Yeah. So now, he's definitely playing a dangerous game. I think you're right. Like, exerting some pressure and map control, especially in the late game, is important. I mean, vision is the most powerful ability in any RTS, right? The ability to see what your opponent's doing it in order to counter it. But, he's pretty out there, and LFS is massing his army. So we're going to see how it turns out. But I think you're right. The big fight's coming.
So we do see guard skirmishers coming in for LFS, or for Dunamai, as Falconets are going to get popped, and we have a little bit of a weird audio bug. We're not hearing the game audio. These Falcons are going to pop off and take one down. Here comes the Stratiots. When did those hit the field?
It's part of the shipment, the Broken Lance, I'd imagine. Or Croatian company too.
Let's see. What did he send? He sent Broken Lance. So Bourbon Allies.
Double check, so
Croatian company hasn't been sent yet. That's Krbatsin.
Not Croatian, Albanian company, right? That's the H3 one. That
Albanian company. So that's Bosniaks and Stratiots. Still hasn't been sent yet. Only one Felt going down for Dunamai here, as the masses look pretty equivalent. Look at that. So got a few villagers, saw that they were hunting here, drawing the units for LFS away from the main battlefield, as in go the Falc's going to snipe one from Dunamai, or from LFS. Both of them go down for LFS. Huge win. That is a huge win for Dunamai here, as we're going to push in. These skirmishers finally got up to guard level. I imagine if we pop over to Dunamai's perspective, that would be Carabiners. Is that the Royal Guard Reuters?
Correct.
Okay, so that is just now coming in.
Okay. Looks like the Guard skirms just came in.
Yep, so the guard skirms have been in for a little bit now. These Reuters going to kind of try and dive on the Papal Lancers. The spies come out of nowhere to hop on the Papal Lancers. Wrong units to pop on, unfortunately. And, man, these Papal Lancers are so good with the deflection ability. Automatically giving every unit in its area essentially what amounts to 25% extra HP, because 25% just gets deflected to all the Papal Lancers, and because of that, that's going to be a pretty clean wipe of all the guard skirmishers from this cav. Culverin's not going to really do much against the Bersaglieri's, and what seems to be a pretty even fight with a little bit better macro turns, I think,
Yeah.
heavily in favor of LFS here.
I think the unit comp for Dutch, Dutch was light on Reuters. Reuters are solid, but like, look at the HP of these mercs, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're Dutch, you probably want to lean more heavily into these, but at the same time, you've got these versatile Gary, right? So maybe more Halbs, or I don't know. To be honest, like it's a tough thing and it's going to come down to micro, but clearly you needed more anti-cav, and now your units, you've been wiped.
The Papal Arsenal is now coming in with a second shipment available to LFS here. Here's the rest of the Reuters that you needed. Unfortunately,
Ooh,
not going to do anything against the Falconets. And then the stun is brutal as well. The Bersaglieri is just going to chase them away. And what else do you do here? You kind of sit back, I guess, and you let your stuff get sieged down. Hussar are only veteran level, and the Bersaglieris are going to try and get in the way, but
no, those are Papal Guard.
Oh, those are okay. Yeah, those are Papal Guards, so those will wipe the Hussar without any issue, as well as having a deflection ability of their own. And it all of a sudden, LFS has taken a 4K score lead. Everything got wiped. The Falconets are pressuring. There goes. Was that a bank or a house?
That was a bank.
That was a bank.
The military production buildings too are forward. I make this mistake all the time, but as a reminder to people out there, this is why typically you want to build in the back, because you don't want them to take away your ability to mass units, right? Because you're in your base. If you can mass units, you can always reinforce faster than the opponent who has to walk over. Ooh, good Cove snipe. I mean, Dunamite, he's playing clever. He's got good stuff, but I think at the end of the day, it's the unit comps. I mean, just the HP of these Lancers. Oh,
and
no.
this is okay. So this is the game changer here. The scores are actually pretty even. They were for a brief moment after the Falconet went down. They were level at about 38,000, 39,000. But the mortars are going to come in. They're going to start sieging the factory down, and Dunamai's got to get this Colv out on the mortar. These factories are not going to be able to be rebuilt. So there's the shot. And there goes the factory, and
that hurts.
That really hurts.
He's got no military.
That is, yeah, with the last shot that the mortars were able to get off, they popped they destroyed the factory. And it's downhill, I think, from here on out for Dunamai. It's going to be tough to get back into this between the Papal Guards, between the Papal Lancers, and all the res that and units that Italy's able to pump out. I don't even think he has Lombards. No, he doesn't even have Lombards, but is still pumping out. Habsburg Allies is coming in now. He's got enough res for...
Lombards. He's got no Colves, or he has 2 Colves left, but
yep.
The mini Bombards.
That's the Papal Company shipment is finally in on top of Papal Arsenal, so all the Papal units have a charged attack. And I think that means LFS is going to take it. The GG has not been called yet.
Yeah, the score's not too necessarily bad, but I mean, how do you beat a Civ in Age 4 that gets faster, better skirms that stun? It gets cannons that deflect damage that are like
they're mini griots with an attack.
Right. That gets every merc and then some special ones. I think at the end of the day, like I said, the power of this merc build that LFS has been demonstrating is that, put simply, it has better units. The economy is a bit weak, but just the power of the units. I mean, these are all units that Italy has to work to get, right? It's not like it's just handed to him on a platter, but he bided his time, he kept his mask going, he stayed in his base, he didn't panic, he didn't FI, and then kind of slowed the tempo and bought himself breathing space to get the units. And now you see the late game combination that I'm sure every Italian player wishes he could replicate on the ladder. Good job, well played by LFS. Dunamai played a good game too. I think again it came back to the unit comp. He just didn't have the right amount of units. at the right time, and now he's at the mercy of LFS. And you know, it's a game 5. He's going to play it to the bitter end, but I don't know how he'd be able to come back from this.
Yeah, it would be really tough. I mean, you've lost now 3, 4 banks, it looks like. You've lost military production
Oh,
buildings, you've
and it's
lost your
called.
factory, and GG is called. LFS moves on to the final. LFS losing his first round against you, Platt, I might add. Loses his first round, fights his way all the way through the elimination bracket. Never faced a game 5 either, or a deciding game, I don't think, until this point. I could be
I believe there's
wrong. I would have to check the tournament bracket again, but
I think he, you know, truly he's earned it. All of his builds, like I said, with this one, I mean, they're different. I think that's what makes him so good. Look, you know, maybe on the ladder where you don't have control of the matchups, the Merc build's not as powerful. But how do you go against a build that's not on the ladder, right? And he's optimized it in such a way, and he's comfortable. You saw, I mean, we've now seen several, versions of this, 2 in this series. And each time looks very comfortable in it. He doesn't panic. He doesn't get overwhelmed, and he's able to leverage like these just absolutely bonkers units in a way against a person that he's playing Dutch solidly. But at the end of the day, I don't think he was prepared to fight every single merc in the game with every single ability. Right? His unit comps, his micro from Dunamai was pretty crisp, but at the end of the day, he wasn't able to get the right units. He wasn't able to anticipate things. LFS kept him guessing, and I think at the end of the day, especially in Age of Empires 3, more so than the other Age of Empires series, the ability to push your opponent and then mass behind that through the home city uh, mechanics really allows you to snowball a victory, whereas in another one, it really comes down to small engagements here and there. Age of Empires 3, you can just basically bust out a sledgehammer or tactical nuke on the field. In this case, it was definitely those horsemen, um, royal horsemen, just basically trampling everything before them. I mean, just excellently played by LFS. Excellently played by Dunamai too. Dunamai played um, a very clean game. I'm sure after this he should be keeping his head high. He went to a game 5. He played an excellent game. He played the Dutch very well. But again, at the end of the day, we saw the power of units and mechanics, and not necessarily being, I think, familiar with that, but then the other guy being so comfortable with his Civ.
you know,
Uh,
and in a sense, it's pretty similar to the Chinese death ball, where you've got Bersagliaries, which is a skirm unit. You've got the Papal Guard, which deflects. You've got the mounted infantry, which is a ranged lancer / skirm. You got the Papal Zouaves as well. They're countered by artillery, so it's a gunpowder trooper. Okay, so that's what, like a grenadier kind of.
I think it's just ranged infantry. It's
Oh
basically
yeah,
a heavy,
okay.
right? No,
It's a gun. So it's that's like a different type of skirm type thing, I guess. Performs
Yeah.
well against all units. I don't even know. Uh, you've got the Papal Lancers in here too. You've got yeah. So there's just and the Papal Bombards. So all these units that deflect and perform well against everybody. And like, what do you do to counter 5 different units?
You know
It's tough.
what I have learned, and it's difficult because Age of Empires 3 devs, for the most part, have really worked against rushes. But when you see a strategy like this, I think Dutch had a window in Age 3. If he would have had the halberdiers that he loved so much, right? If he was able to get some more siege and some more pressure, he could have closed it out. Italy on the ladder struggles because in the ladder, typically people want to end the game quick. Um, and I think we got to see what happens when you let Italy, rear its head. And this wasn't even the economy version of Italy. This is like the look at all of my kick-ass units version. So again, absolutely kudos to LFS for taking this new Civ and figuring out a pretty unique build that has performed extremely well. To my knowledge, I don't think he's lost with this Italy.
I don't think so either. I guess we'll find out In the grand finals coming up soon, LFS versus Platypus Slayer. Thank you for being my co-host for this series. Looking forward to seeing the finals. If you liked this video, give it a like. If you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. The finals will be up relatively soon. I imagine, you know what, I think I'm probably going to put the finals up on every in the same day. So you'll have the entire finals. You'll get a lot of content to watch in one day. So that'll be pretty fun. What else? Link in the description to the Discord. If you want to join the tournament, it's going to be a 2v2. Should be going live soon. I think that's it, Platt.
I think so too, man.
I think that's all I got.
Yeah, after 5 games, man, an incredible series. I don't know what else to say. I think the games have really spoken to themselves about the best parts of Age of Empires 3 and what makes it unique. You know, different builds, different strategies. Again, we're not top players. We're not trying to say that these are we're not like the YouTubers that says, this thing will wreck the ladder and make your mom disown you or anything crazy like that, right? Like, this is a bunch of guys having fun and using ways that are kind of unique and just having fun. I mean, what else to say? So I hope you guys join us for the finals or any of the video series. If you want to join the Discord, do it. He already said all this stuff. You know that you'll like, subscribe, yada, yada, yada. I'll see you guys later.
Peace out.